Hello everyone, I'm going to show you how to paint dimensionally on resin. I'm working on Yupo paper, so yes, you can do it on Yupo paper, and I like putting these on a floating frame. I think that looks great. Now just to let you know, I use the clear resin from Ranger. If I will post all the links below. There's a little arrow on the right that will you hit that and I'll have all the links of where you get all this material if you're interested. Okay, so I want to show you how I paint these because I love the dimension I get. So I already painted this and then put a coat of resin, ice resin, on top of it. So now I'm all ready to start painting my first layer on top of the resin itself. So I'm going to jump right in. So let's go into some sepia and just darken a little bit in here. Do you see how I can control that and make this pop a little bit more? And then in the process, this daffodil is going to be like crazy dimension. It's going to be just fantastic. You can already see it. And so what I'm doing is painting right on top of the resin, that first layer. So now you're getting a nice transparent look. Now, with resin, you usually use tints, but because I'm painting on top and I let it dry and put a layer of resin on top of this, you don't need tints for that. You only need tints if you're mixing into the resin itself, which I do that as well. So I'm just using a little bit at a time. And I want it to be, I'm gonna put a little black in that mix too, because I don't want it too bright. I want it looking like an old board back here. Very thin amounts of ink. But you see how it pushes it back a little bit. I don't want everything bright. I want my daffodils bright, but I don't want everything bright, but I want everything to pop. And I'm using some meadow here. And I want to put a little more dimension in this petal, this leaf that comes up on the daffodil. Wiping out my brush. So what I'm doing is coming in front now. This is going to push this back. And when you look at it through the resin, it's going to be like a lot of dimension. And it's like 3D. So you know those pictures that you turn? It almost works like that, but without all that work, because those are a lot of work to do. So I'm just getting a little dark in because the dark will make my white pop out a little bit more. And I want these to really pop a little bit. And I want to reinforce. This one didn't come out so good. It could have been a little darker. See how much nicer that looks? That looks nice. I like that. Looks like a dead leaf. I love it. So I'm leaving it alone, but I might go a little darker right in here. Make the turn a little, reinforce the turn. I noticed that when I pour on top, I think it lightens a little bit, but I'm not really sure because it's so minute. It's very little bit. I'm putting a little of the green in here. Your color should travel around. And I'm just going to soften that with just my dry brush and get that on there. I'm also going to activate my dandelion and mix it into that dry slurry and see what I get. So I want this petal to super pop. So bringing it up here to dry and then bringing it out. So if something's really light, it'll come forward, but to see the light, you need to make dark. So we're gonna have to definitely darken back in here, but I want this to come out into my space. So I just keep layering and mixing and layering and mixing. Then after this dries, I will just pour another layer of resin. I'm not going to show you how to do that. I think you all know how to pour resin. There's enough resin designers out there that can show you how to pour resin. It's just that the ice resin it's like glass. It's a high quality resin. It's considered a jeweler's grade. They use it for jewelry making. So you can see that's starting to pop out. I would like this area to be a little lighter right in here. Now I'll come back and get that dry and lighten that up. I want this edge to be lighter. So I'll just tap on that and give it that beautiful lacy look of the daffodil around the edge. And the light's coming this way, so this is going to be the lightest spot right in here. And less is coming off my brush, so now I can go back into the darker areas and it won't be as strong. And I want to bring some in here. I'm using alcohol ink, but you don't want to use alcohol ink if you're painting with the resin itself, which I do that as well. You want to use tints because they're formulated not to change color, but these won't change color because they're already set up before we put on our next color or our next layer of resin. Okay, I'm going to let that set up. I want to come to a different area. I'm going to do right in here. I don't want it right on that edge. I want it inside the edge a little because the edge would actually turn a little bit. And now my white is dry, so I'm getting a nice dry brush. And this part will pop right out. I know it's hard to see on the camera, but believe me, it's worth the trouble. It is such a phenomenal look. And if you're selling, you can sell these for a lot more. There's a lot more work putting into these, and you can sell these for a lot more money, I think. And I like this front area to be brighter and lighter. Snow Cap is a mixative, but it's such a nice soft looking white. It's really works really nice. I love it. I love it after it dries more than when it's wet. It's too gooey. Okay, so that looks really nice. You see how that's coming forward? Now I'm going to go into the green a little bit and just reinforce some of that green. I'm not covering it. I'm just giving it another layer so there's texture and depth. But I'm not covering the whole first layer. I want that to show through. So I'm just going to go into a little of the green again. Yep. And then I'm just going to thinly layer. And I use a lot of thin layers. I'd rather go over it once or twice than, you know, a few more times than to, and I want the under area to kind of bleed through. And then I'll mix it into this. And then I'll come back and reinforce it. That's how it is with art. You have to go back and forth. It's all about the dimension. And then this one. I don't want this to be as important as this one. This is my important one. This is going to be important. This is going to be important. All this back here, rocks and things, not important. What's important is this one here, and I'm going to put some bumblebees in. I think that'll be a hoot. So I'm going to go back into my white, and it's all dry. So now I can goof around with this one just a little bit, give it a little light. And this one will get dimension just because I'm putting the light in it, but yet it isn't going to hog over the show. See what I mean? Looks pretty, but yet it's secondary. Little light there. Because what I'm looking for is dimension again. Okay, I don't need a lot there, but I do need a lot here. So I'm going to go back up into this and put some more white in here. And I might put a little white right there to get it to come out a little bit more. Now I'm going to go into some sunshine yellow. And I want to put a little of that back there and underneath and over in here. And you can see how it's separating, and I'm not giving a lot of information back here. I don't care. This is where I'm really important, right in here. So a little more of that sunshine yellow. soften it out so it's not so harsh of a line. Look how much prettier that is. Don't be afraid to go back and break up your lines a little bit. Let them dance up into the ridge and just dance it around. Now I'm going to go into a little of the honeycomb. I want that a little darker. These are my standard yellows I use. Dandelion, sunshine yellow, and honeycomb. I use them all. And I love the new one too. It's called Dijon. It's kind of like a yellow ochre, which is really nice because I had to always make it. So now I can just use theirs. I'm going back into my white, and now I'm reinforcing that white area again because I really want this to come out. When it's got the next layer of resin, I want this to come into our space. And I like this. I'm gonna make this little paper turn of a dead leaf come out a little bit more. And I want this to come out a little bit more. And I'd like this turn right there to pop out a little bit more. And I just keep painting till I'm happy. Paint till you're happy. People say to me, when is it done? Well, it's done when you can't figure out what else to do because it looks pretty good. So then you're done. There's a little petal back there. I kind of like that showing through. It's kind of interesting to see something behind dancing area on the daffodil because I want this part to come into our space. This is in my space, this is in my space, this little, this is stem, but I like that. I like hit that a little bit more. I want it to kind of come down. And now I can come back here again and reinforce. And then this one needs a little more reinforcement. And then a little bit right in here. And I'm tapping into it so it breaks up. I don't want it to be perfect line. And I'm using alcohol. You can even use your alcohol to mix in here with the resin. So now I'm just going to use that dirty brush, a little bit more alcohol on it, and smooth this out a little bit to give it more of a feel of texture of the paper of the daffodils dying petal. See how pretty that is? I don't like real strong lines all the time. I don't mind a few up here, like this is an important spot, but I don't want it everywhere. Like I might put this a little bit stronger right in here. So now what happens is your eye comes right up to here. Let it fade out. And let's give this a little light right in here again. So when you look through the resin to this area, it's going to really stand out above the dark areas that are back there and stand out of that as well. And as you can see, it melts. It melts right into the picture from before. See that? Look at that. And I just want to soften that line just a little bit. Bring it in a little more with the alcohol. I actually did that pretty good. And I just lift off. That looks good. All right. So your face. So your eyes come up here. They're looking where I want you to look. I'm going to give a little highlight right in here. And I might go into a little of that black with the white. and gray that down a little bit so that my yellows really pop. Nothing like a little gray, I'm not kidding. It really adds a lot to your picture. And since I want this to super pop in here, this is a real important spot. Bring it right up to the, but you can see how you can see through it. It's very thin amounts of ink. So that looks pretty nice. If you want to soften it, you can. Right back down to the surface again if you want. It's up to you. I want to gray this down back here, just using a dry brush. Do you see how that pushed that petal back? That really works good, doesn't it? I'm putting a little green in here, by the way. White. I don't want it too white. That's good. Now I'm going to use a little more of the sunshine yellow and just put a little of it right in here as a tint. Look how pretty that is. It brightens up. I might even put a little there because it comes forward. It's warmer color. Okay, I think I would like a little darker right here. Not a lot. See how transparent that is? Very little, but it makes a difference. It gives it a little more depth. It breaks up that color. That edge, that looks nice. Okay, so now what I want to do one more time is reinforce the area coming closest to me, because I'm going to put another layer of resin and then I'm going to do it one more time. Another painting on top of that. So these petals come straight out and some of this stuff will really pop. I'm just going to go darken back here, wipe out my brush. Let it kind of come around the sides a little bit. Bring that little vein in. Do you see how it's pointing to that beautiful flower? And it's going to pop out amongst all these because it's another layer on top of the resin. The other thing I would like, because the light's coming this way, is it needs a shadow. It's hard to talk and paint. Okay, that looks good. So now what I want to do is go back into my white and reinforce this tip coming out. And now I'll go back into the light. Or maybe I'll make a turn. How pretty is that? Now this turn will come quite forward. That's pretty nice. Turn that like that. Maybe give it a little more of a light right there. In this area, I'm going to use some sepia and reinforce the dark so that the light will really pop out. So you can see how, if you're not getting light enough, just go darker. Okay, I'm just going to soften it again, just a little bit on the edges. Then I'm going back into my white. Lots of back and forth. I'm just softening a little more resin in it. I mean, a little more sepia. So I'm going to be teaching this technique in my class at Ranger. We're going to have a class. In a couple of days, I'll have the date. And if you can possibly come, I would love to meet you and have you come to my class and show you how to do this. This way you can ask questions. That's the only thing about this. It's hard to do the question and answer while you're working on it. So this way you can come to class, ask your questions, brainstorm with me, get some ideas. And not only that, we have a ball. Oh my God, we have such a good time. And you're at the facility, they give you a little tour of it, which is awesome to see. I was like amazed how big this area is. They got all kinds of machines. It looks like Willy Wonka world back there. and pull that out, put this out again, and pull this one in front. So now let's add some bees to make interest and let them direct you to where I want you to see. I'm going to have one here. And so this way it comes up. You want your things to bring you into areas. Like I can even put one here, but a very small one. Kind of cute, right? So add a little dark. You don't have to get crazy. It's so easy. They're just a pill shape with 3 stripes and a little shadow underneath. This guy's all head. This guy's this way. Give him a little head. And a tail. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now I'm just going to use that dirty brush and give them wings. Because I want my bumblebees to fly. I don't like them just stuck on wings. So let's give this guy a nice wing. And they come out of right here. So you want to make it a V and then another one there. So this one comes in to the side. This one, we'll just bring him into this, just give him a little dot of white. Right there, and right there. How about a little dot there, because I'm going to put yellow on that. And I'm going to put a little more of a highlight there on this guy. And I'm going to bring his wings into here. And then I soften it. That way he looks like he's flying, don't you think so? And we'll just give him another wing there. I'll soften it after. I don't like it too light. Okay, so we'll just get them in there. Boink, boink. All right, there we go. Now I want to just get some of the gray underneath to give them a shadow. I'm not going to get crazy with putting the feet and all that in there. Just trying to just give the impression of bees. Just soften with my white. I can come back and forth. Don't be afraid. Oh my God, it didn't come out just perfect. It doesn't matter. Come out with the edge and just kind of soften that edge. Just wiggle it so there's no real wing. Okay, so now I reinforce where my yellow is going to be that I want to pop. So now I come back and reinforce. Oops, too far, doesn't matter. Just go and reload it. Okay, so I'm going to just give him a little bit of a just a little hit of light. And I'm just going to soften it. Okay, now I'm going to go into Dandelion and juice it up. I love working with a dry palette. You have so much more control. And I'm going to put a little yellow on him. A little yellow on him. I didn't put the black on him yet. I got to do that. I got to retouch up. I like that. If I like it, I'm leaving him alone. This guy could use a little head on him. This one could use a little something. Fix him later. See how I don't care. You don't overthink it. It doesn't matter. Just want to get the feeling of it on there. Okay, that looks good. You can come back as many times as you want. So this guy's coming straight on. I like to make them turn. Don't let them all be the same location. You want them to change. This guy can be just be a little bit. go back into my white and fix him. You see how I fix him? No problem. Doesn't work. This is good that you see how I fix things, because now you know it's not a big deal. Touch, pull, touch, pull. That's all he needs. This one, just a little hit there. Maybe a little hit there. Because as the snow cap settles down, it softens, which I love, because if it was real harsh, it really wouldn't be as pretty. So, but sometimes I do want a harsh line, so don't say ever. I'm going to take some more yellow and hit the tops again. And I'm using Dandelion. This guy isn't as important, so I want to soften him down. Do you see how beautiful that is? But he's coming up here to here to here. And since the light is coming in this direction, I'm going to put a little shadow here. And we'll put a little one coming here. Whoop, that was a little juicy. Put a little shadow here. It makes them float. If you put a shadow in, it makes them float better. So now I'll come back and I'll soften my shadows so they're not so harsh. Bounce it around, skizzle it about, make it soft. You can do it as many times as you want. Just want some lift on my bumblebees. I'm just going to put a little brown on them there, a little sepia, just to give them a little flavor. And I think I would like a little more green in the background there. So this ended up being a lot longer than I expected because I'm noodling around. What else is new? And there we go. I call it done. So you're right. Anyway, so what I want to do is just let this sit. I'm going to wait overnight, and then I'm going to do my next layer of resin, and I'll show you that in the next episode. So I'm going to call this A, B, C, D, whatever. So just watch for those when you see them. And if you click the bell, you'll get all the notice when I put it out, so you'll know right away. But I really want that to pop out. This needs to pop super out, and this needs to come out. I kind of like that curve, don't you? So you see, I say I'm done, and I'm never done, right? Oh, I wanted to show you one more thing. Don't go away. One more thing. Ranger has this awesome pen, and I gotta tell you, I like it a lot. They really have awesome products. I'm so glad that they let me help them now and then, and they let me try new things. This is it's called a white opaque pen, and this pen is just amazing. Add little white dots in here. And this white is even whiter than the white snow cap. So you get more brightness from it. And it's a fine line. I mean, watch this. Look at that. See how it's just a fine line. I noticed that you have to be vertical with it and light on the touch, especially with the ink. And look how beautiful and fine the lines are. And it does break up a little bit because it grabs on the ink, but I like that because it looks more realistic. See that? Look at that. And I'll just soften it with my finger a little bit. I like it. Ooh, new toys, right? Okay, so I'm calling it done. Otherwise, I'm going to end up with a photograph when I'm done. Okay, so I'm going to do another layer of resin, and then I'll decide if I'm done. I probably will be, but these bees are going to stick right out. So I also see a shadow that could be put over here. Shadows are magic, so don't be afraid to put it in. If you don't like it, you can take it out, I promise. But And there you go. Soften it back out and you're all done. But it gives lift to the leaf. Okay, so let's call it done, and we're done. Okay, so there we go. So we'll go on to stage 2 shortly. And don't forget to look at the list on the bottom right of the video. There's an arrow for the list of products and everything used, so you can order if you're interested. Okay, so till